to learn some personal finance?
Yes.
Good. Because we are very lucky today. We have a special guest. I'm going to pass the mic to Professor Ming Lu because he is the person who brings this special event for us. Let's give him a big hand.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you for coming to today's presentation. My name is Professor Ming Lu. I'm one of the full-time accounting professors here at Santa Monica College. Before I introduce our guest speaker today, I would just like to say a few words. As someone who's taught financial literacy classes, I'm always going on to YouTube or other sites, online sites, to try to find videos or other resources for my students. And so for the past 2 to 3 years, I've just been religiously going on there and looking for financial literacy videos. And I don't know, have you guys also gone to YouTube to look for financial literacy or money management videos? Right? Isn't there tons and tons of videos? Well, in my search, what I found, unfortunately, is that as someone who actually knows about financial literacy, what I've noticed is that there's just a lot of people out there that are just scam artists, right? You watch their videos in the background, they show their fake wealth, right? They maybe have like some scantily clad women, they have a nice yacht in the background, some nice sports car or some fancy mansion. But the messages they're preaching is disingenuous, right? Where they don't give specifics on how to manage your money. Or there's some videos I found on the web that were, they had some good content, but it's really, really watered down, right? After you watch that video, there's really nothing you can do to improve your life. And finally, I did find some good videos, but whoever uploaded them just didn't upload enough. Maybe they only had, 2 or 3 videos or 4 videos at most uploaded. So, I started searching and searching and searching. And then a couple of years ago, I ran across this YouTuber who goes by BeatTheBush. And I started watching a few of his videos, and the more I watched, the more I became genuinely engaged in his videos, because what I found out was that this guy is the real deal, right? He teaches very practical advice, and not only does he talk the talk, he actually walks the walk. He actually does everything that he preaches. He lives out everything that he says. And as a matter of fact, as while I was watching it, then last year around this time, on October 6, 2017, he actually retired from his job. He used to be an electrical engineer, and he just retired. Amazing, right? A very young guy like him. I'm still working, and this guy's already retired, right? Doing the things that he wants to do. He just travels all the time, just pursues his hobbies, and of course makes these great YouTube videos for you guys, right? And to my knowledge, he didn't come from a well-to-do family, right? He's a self-made man. So here's some additional information about BeatTheBush. As I said before, he's already retired. He was formerly an engineer. He started making YouTube videos about 4 years ago. But this guy's crazy. I mean, in 4 years, he's uploaded over 800 videos. And he's amassed 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. And so I highly encourage you to also watch some of his videos, and if you feel that they're really worth value, I highly encourage you to subscribe so you can keep enjoying his videos. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guest, BeatTheBush.
Thank you, Professor Lu. As you know, this is my YouTube page if you want to go to it, youtube.com/BeatTheBush. Like Professor Lu said, I graduated from UCLA just right next door with a bachelor's and master's in electrical engineer. Started about January 2014. I quit about a year ago, October 2017. Now, some of you might think about YouTube as a profession. I want to ask, who is kind of thinking about that? Raise your hand. Some of you. It's like a rare profession, right? When you look at the statistics, it's like about 0.1% that will succeed. Very, very, very rare. But just a short segue about how you can actually make it, because in my point of view, it's not 0.1%, it's like 100%. Basically, you need to start now. You'll have to have grit, always keep on improving whatever you make, because I see a lot of YouTubers, they make their videos and it just kind of stagnates. It doesn't improve. So you gotta always make sure every single new video that you upload is better than the last one. So since I retired, sort of retired, I'll explain why it's sort of retired. I don't actually have to stay at a regular job to work these days. I make most of my income that I spend through side income thing, through YouTube, through investments, things like that. And so when I get a job, I don't actually do it for money. So the last year I did various things. I went to a fulfillment center to gain the experience. I volunteer as a exit staff. I do food delivery just for fun, just kind of get more experience doing it. There might be others in the future. So my goal today is to make all of you richer. Okay? Practical advice on how to do that, and improve your quality of your life in the process, and just basically use money smarter and more efficiently. You might have, a certain salary that you might have, but then given that same salary, you can use it more efficiently and sort of get more bang for the buck based on how you use it. So why should you manage your money? Like some people, they don't really, they just kind of like put it aside and just kind of close their eyes and go, oh yeah, credit card bills, just kind of put it there. They don't want to look at it. Maybe you think that credit card bill is really high that month, and then you just try to, just kind of not look at it. But you really need to just focus on it and pay attention to it. Look at the interest on your bills, etc. So to me, some people might think, oh yeah, you're a penny pincher. But then to me, money is more like it's a tool. You use it to gain financial freedom. You use it to gain more time for yourself. I personally don't go around buying a lot of fancy things and chasing after, making myself look, very rich, flashy things. For example, this shirt I got for free. These pants are like $12. But I'll get to why my shoes are $100-some. That's for durability reasons. I'll get to that later. It's basically when you reach this level of financial independence, you get to do more of what you want to do. Having more time to yourself means if you have certain things that you want to do, you can do it versus you might be going to a day job. People will tell you what to do at a regular job, and you basically are not in control of your time because your boss is like, oh, you gotta do this, and then you gotta, follow their orders. So money allows you to sort of, as a final stage, exit from that, and then you don't have to listen to anyone else anymore. Just like right now these days, last 2 weeks, I was actually in Hawaii. And then I came over here to give this talk. So that's why I have this weird tan. So you get less stress, more freedom. So everyone in on this?
Yes.
There are ways to do it, no matter what amount that you make. The more efficiently that you use it, that's how I got to where I am. I don't make all that much money from YouTube. I don't make all that much money from, certainly not as much as in my engineering career. I chose to make a lot less because I don't need that much to survive on. I turned down what I later call cash flow. I spend so little. In fact, my cell phone over here. How many people here? How much do people pay here per month for their cell phone plan?
$70.
Like 30? 70? You know how much I pay?
30.
Nothing. But I still have a cell phone.
Cricket.
I can tell you why that is later. Weird, right? That's like $1,000 a year that I don't pay. By the way, yeah. This is not like an anti-job type of thing, but I just kind of want to give a little perspective on when you do get a job, what you're actually doing. You're trading time for money, right? it could be a per hourly job. Okay, you go in, you get paid, I don't know, $15 an hour or something. Basically, to me it's like a new form of slavery, right? Not so bad, right? Because slavery is like they crack the whip and go, hey, you gotta keep on going at it. But a salary is basically the same thing. You're basically required to do something. You have a set of tasks. If you choose not to do it, okay, those set of tasks, if you keep on not doing it, you're gonna get fired. So you basically have to. Some jobs have more choice than others. Right? Some fancy office job, you have more creativity. You can choose to create a certain thing, but then you're still a little bit constrained. So in a career of certain jobs, you have a range, a gradient of how much freedom you have. So sort of think about that when you get your job. How much freedom do you actually have? Certainly there are, I estimate, like a small fraction of these jobs that gives you incredible freedom, and those are the good ones. If you go to them, some people will tell you, oh, you love your job, right? Some people do love their job, but when I started my engineering, I did really like it, but then eventually it's more like, oh, I didn't affect as many people as I wanted, like you guys. If I give this talk to you guys, maybe some of you would control your money a bit better, live a better life, and that is way more rewarding for me than making a electrical gadget type thing. So what is the alternative to having a regular job? Entrepreneurship, but then it's not for everybody, right? Like not everyone succeeds. You would always hear on videos, for those people that make it, they're like, oh, just keep on going at it. But then to me, I think you really need to have the grit. Not everyone would just follow through with it. So entrepreneurship, which is, sort of doing YouTube, is kind of like entrepreneurship. Or you could start your own business. You can make your own website or make your own blog. How many of you have your own blog online? One? No, that's the camera over there. Those are the things that you can get a little bit of side income, and then my recommendation is for any of those side endeavors. Those are really good stuff because you can start small and you can also work on it while you're at your day job. I want to introduce you what FIRE is basically. Who has heard the term FIRE? F-I-R-E. It's good that you guys know about this now, because if you start looking into it, it's sort of like it'll get you to look more and more into it. It's so enticing that you keep on searching up for it. This term means financial independence, retired early. It basically says that you can actually retire early. You're about to enter the workforce. How many years do you want to be at this? Do you want to work at this for 30 years or something, until 30, 40 years? 65, that's the typical thing. You can, given most incomes, if you graduate from here, you can do it within 10 years, 15 or something like that. If you look it up, there's a lot of, that's a great search term, so look that up and you'll get hooked. So what does financial independence mean? It means to have enough financial assets to not depend on employment income. This means that when you have, as you're working, you collect money, okay? And then you save it, and then you can invest it. And then a certain portion of it comes out as dividends, gains, or whatnot. And you can actually use this to live off of. So when you have enough financial assets to do this, you're financially independent. For me, I am not exactly in that position where I can just lay around on the beach all day and use only income from stocks and whatnot to live off of. when you look at this, sometimes you need a lot of money in order to generate enough income to live off of. For example, you need $1 million. The general consensus is about 4% returns. I'll explain a little bit why that is the case. But if you have $1 million, which is a lot, right? Then if 4% of that is $40,000, can you live off of $40,000 every single year? Yeah. Some people have a higher burn rate than others, what I call. If you're able to reduce your expenditure every single year, then you need less of this investment income. Okay, let's say you only need to spend $20,000 every single month. Then it becomes only $500,000 that you need. That's still a lot. But then you can cut it down further. If you have some sort of side income from, I don't know, rental properties, or I don't know, a little blog that you have that brings in maybe $500 a month. Every little bit helps, and that's going to reduce the amount that you need to sit in a investment portfolio that earns you gains. But I'll explain a little on how you can get this 4% later. This is personal finance. These are the topics I'm going to cover. Earning money. I'll probably talk a little bit about that. Savings, cash flow, investing, loss aversion. Because when you get your money, right, you don't want to lose it. Getting good credit. How many of you have a credit card already? A lot of you. I hope you guys know what to do with it, because most of you will get into debt and probably pay interest on it. Maybe some of you are already. You know, you spend a little bit, they go, oh, 0%, whatever, and then you're paying the minimum or whatever. I'll talk about looking rich. A lot of people like to look rich, or you want to be rich instead. It's a lot. It's very different. Sometimes when you look at some person on the street, they might look super wealthy, but then they have nothing in the bank account, and they have a lot of debts. Every single month, they're just hanging by a hair. They're getting all their income, right, from whatever job or whatever, and then they have so many payments that they have to pay in terms of interest that all of that money goes out the door. Sure, immediately they look like, you know, they're solvent, okay? That's what I would call it. But if, you know, one falls smooth, then, you know, they might go bankrupt or whatnot. There's a difference between you only live once versus being frugal. There's a little balance between those two in durable products, which I like to emphasize. So, entering this college, some of you might have picked a major, something that you thought you liked, right? Something that you think that you can be good at. Did you ever think about if you're gonna love the work that you do when you graduate? If you want to be good at it, you generally want to love the work. Whatever profession you pick, you must have been able to make money from it, right? Like some people might not make as much, but these are the crossings of the attributes that you want. If you really want a satisfying job, you want to love what you do, you want something that makes you money, you need to be good at it, right? If you're not good at it, then you won't make as much. You're not gonna get as many raises. And also you want to help others. Now this might not be a first consideration, but I found out that it really does improve the overall well-being of your job. If you're able to somehow touch the lives of other people, then it makes it all that much rewarding. Now, people would talk about this. Oh yeah, you need all of these, intersection of all of these, you know, like in a Venn diagram, if you've seen those things, it's like an intersection of all these attributes. But you have to realize it does not always begin with all of these, right? You don't just suddenly go, oh, I have all of these things, let me just plop down and I have this great job that you love, that you're good at, you know, you can help others. Sometimes you might not have one of them. Maybe you only have two of them. But you can work the other pieces so that you can kind of move those towards, you know, something more solid. For example, If you don't like the work, maybe you can, think of it in a new way, get more perspective on it so that you will love the work. Makes money. Well, maybe whatever that you find that you do does not make money immediately, satisfy all those other attributes. But if you get good enough at it, you might be able to make a little bit money and then a little bit more. Good at it, well, sometimes you might not be good at it, but if you like it enough, you'll eventually get good at it, right? So it doesn't start with everything all at once. So just keep that in mind when you're starting your careers. Let's talk about savings and cash flow. You have a set of income that comes in. It comes in a lot of different sources. I mean, as students, where does it come from? You might have, I don't know, student loans, aids or something, but then they go out the door. You have to pay your tuition or whatnot. But later on when you are at your profession, you have a paycheck. But then there are other incomes that you can get, right? Like I said before, rental income, investment income. If you start investing a little bit now, you might not be actually spending it, but it's gonna build. You have bonds, which are a little bit safer forms of investment, but it's not without risk. There are other little things that you can, it's kind of like make money outside of your regular job. Most people, when they work at a regular job, they're not gonna have enough time to do outside endeavors. You're gonna be so tired. It's basically gets you in a trap. You have your traffic, you go to work, you come back, you have your 40 hour a week thing, and then by the time that's all over, you don't have any energy basically to follow these endeavors, such as writing a book. Do you guys know if you write a book, a good one, you're gonna get royalties from it, right? Website ad placement, if you have a blog, you can use Google AdSense, put it there, and then given a certain number of views, you would get money from that. Affiliate referrals, which is once you have certain attraction with a website, YouTube channel, Instagram, companies are going to come after you and then go, hey, why don't you promote this or that? And then those are affiliate referrals, and you can get money that way. Now, outflows, everybody has these. You have your rent, mortgage, student loans, which includes interest for anything borrowed. People like to buy a big fancy car right after college, right? You just got a job, maybe it makes, I don't know, $2,000, $3,000 a month, and then you go, oh, okay, $500 payment is not so bad, and you lease it. But then most of that money goes into, a lot of it goes into paying for interest, and then at the end, if you lease the car, you're not even going to get to keep the car. Then you have insurance, which is an important factor to not ignore. You have your food, utilities, restaurant subscription, membership. So all of these things, when I talk about minimizing your burn rate, is to look at every single outflow and minimize that, and then increase all your inflows. This is especially important for subscription type services. You might have Hulu, Netflix, any kind of thing, recurring thing. Sometimes when you get a recurring thing, you don't even look at it. Sometimes you might not even use it. If it's a monthly thing, I'm very, very careful about it. I have a minimum number of subscription services. All these things that are outflows, if you minimize these as a recurring thing every single month, then that means your burn rate is going to be all that much lower. That means you only need that much less to survive on. That means that if you have a certain saved up emergency savings amount, you don't need as much. So if you happen to lose your job and you only have a small amount, right, then you can survive on much longer than someone who has a huge burn rate. As an engineer, I have, previously, I had a lot of different coworkers who basically spend very, very close to what they earn. As an engineer, I used to earn a lot. And can you imagine, just spend all the way up there. And they can look very, very fancy, buy BMWs and things like that. But that is not really sustainable, because you can't live for, you're not really saving for your future, and you can't just kind of pick up and quit like I did one day. You're still working, by the way. I'm not. So let me talk about investing. This is probably an important thing. How many of you invest? Buy, trade, sell stocks. What do you over there? What you've been doing with your stocks? Oh, sorry, that might be too personal.
I can say if you want.
You can?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't really care. So, big companies that are like low risk but low gain, Tesla, some others, and then also index.
Yeah.
Ones are major for the economy. I get decent percentages annually.
Yeah.
from that.
Well, thank you for answering. I'll give you this book. So when you invest in an individual stock, it's very high risk. You're essentially saying that you're better than the fund managers, right? There are professional fund managers that goes around, have their own portfolio, and they try to beat the index. And if you look at it, by the fifth year, most of them do not beat the index. So as a, not a professional investor, the best thing that you can do is just invest in an index. The money that you put in individual stock, I know that might be tempting because I do it myself. You are saying that, hey, I can beat them. It's kind of fun, right? To go, oh yeah, I like this company, I'm gonna buy it, hopefully it's gonna raise all that much. But if you ever track what you do, most likely you're not gonna beat the index over the long term.
So Francis, let me interrupt you real quick. The financial literacy knowledge of the students here, most of them may not be what you expect. They don't know what an index fund is. So maybe
I'll get into
yeah,
that.
you'll explain that. And also the other thing is, I know you made some YouTube videos on cryptocurrency and stuff.
Mhm.
There's a trend now. A lot of young students like, oh yeah, I want to do cryptocurrency. So maybe if you have a few minutes, maybe I'll elaborate the dangers of that as well.
Sure, I'll do that right after this. So an index fund is basically, it tracks an index, it buys a lot of different companies on the stock market and aggregates them together. For example, there's the S&P 500. Shown here is since 1928, that's a long time ago. So the basic consensus is, wow, if you buy an index fund, it's just gonna keep on going up. Do you believe it or not? If you look at past, 80 years over here, it's averages about 8%. Do you want 8%? You can get 8% if you just buy it. But you have to realize that if you invest in an index fund, you might not always get 8% every single year. This is over the long term. If you average over the next 10 years or something. So if you buy into it now, maybe next year you might lose, look at over here. Minus 40% over there. Can you imagine that? You lose 40% one year? So you have to really take that into perspective. If suddenly one year it goes down, it'll come back. That's just, looking at the history of this thing. The take-home message here is, it's better to invest in an index fund rather than go your own. Now let me go into the cryptocurrency Professor Liu referred to. I did invest in cryptocurrencies. It's basically a crazy bet. It's like a casino, I think, personally, and it's fun. So then I personally did not invest a lot of money in it. I just put a little bit, less than 5% of my portfolio in there, and it did well. So who invested in Bitcoin? Oh, look at you guys over there. I'm not gonna ask who lost a lot of money in there. You don't have to raise your hands, but yeah, as we've seen, it went up quite a bit from, I don't know, when I started, it was about $2,500 and then sold it around 15,000 or something. So it's a good multiple fold, and then people keep on saying, oh yeah, buy in, and people just want others to buy in to be in the same boat, but basically you don't know what it's valued at. Right now, you can't value a Bitcoin. There's no backing to it, basically. And my advice is, well, I personally don't invest in it anymore. It's basically, when you invest in it, you don't know. You just don't know. It's not like a public company where you can kind of go, oh, look at the financial statements and see how much money it's making. Bitcoin is based on belief that everybody believes that it's going to worth something. And when the belief goes away, it's going to keep on going down. And my initial announcement for that is that when I sold it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not going to take the risk. It's just going to keep on trickling down, and that's what it's been doing. So be very, very careful of that. I wouldn't recommend to invest in that right now, including most importantly altcoins, the other stuff. That's all I have to say with that. It's too risky. I personally have 0 Bitcoin right now. Loss aversion. When you make your money, you also want to keep it, especially when you have enough assets. It gets more and more important the more you have, because in America people like to sue. It's just crazy. So you gotta buy insurance. What is buying it, right? Like you buy an insurance and then you have to pay a premium. Basically what it's doing, it's spreading the risk amongst everybody else. There's a company, and then a lot of people buy insurance from them. But then for you might not actually use it ever, right? So if you don't use it, then where does the premium go? It goes towards the people that actually needed it. So then it sort of spreads out the risk. And for the company to do this for you, they take a little bit off for their services. What are the type of insurance that you really do need? There's a whole bunch of them. You need your health insurance, because sometimes when you get in medical trouble, it can be super expensive. And so if you have that insurance, it's going to not cause you to go bankrupt, basically. If you don't have, can you imagine, if you don't have one, right, and you get into some issue and you go to the emergency room, it can basically take away all your money, and that's it, game over. If you have a home, earthquake insurance, you need car insurance, etc. So that's loss aversion. Getting good credit. So let me just say all these little different things about your personal finance. I have almost like a video on every single little topic that I talk about. You can go look it up on my on YouTube. Just whatever topic, and then write BeatTheBush, BeatTheBush. So getting good credit. As you begin, you might not have such good credit. You might have, I estimate like 700 or so. My credit score is around 835. It's touched about 848 at one point. That's how I make my credit card videos. I say, hey, look at me. I have such high credit. This is how you can do it. There are certain metrics. It's sort of like a black box on how you can get good credit. Basically, you should never be late, ever. If you're late once, it's really, really bad. So always set up auto pay on your credit cards. Make it pay the full amount, not just the minimum. When you use your credit card, only use money that you have in the bank already. That's how I've always done it. If you have, $100 in the bank and a $1,000 credit limit, don't go around spending that. Simple enough, right? More forms of credit increases credit score. So if you have a credit card, you have a few credit cards, that's great, but then you also, more forms of credit, meaning that if you have a mortgage, if you have student loans, that would help increase your credit score. Just different kinds of credit, including personal loans, but I don't recommend getting those. Just, yeah, more different kinds. A lot of people overlook this. There are tricks that I've posted videos on how to boost your credit score. Sometimes you might want to get a car. I recommend to not get an expensive car, of course. At some point, you might want to increase it to buy something big. Maybe you saved enough for a house. Eventually, you might want to do that. Which includes zeroing out your utilization ratio, which is, utilization ratio is just how much you use it. You have a $1,000 credit limit, you spend $100 on it, your utilization ratio is 10%. You can zero it out, did you guys know, by paying your credit card right before the statement date, just paying it off to close to zero, and then all of a sudden magically you'll have 0% utilization ratio even though you did use that credit card. Starting out as a college student, you might have only a very, very small limit, $500, $1,000 or something like that. But you can get a larger credit limit faster if you just pour everything into that credit card, all your expenditures, like whenever you eat, just put it in that card. And then don't go around spending money just to max it out, okay? Just spend whatever that you normally would, and then pay it off, all off every single month. So you just, ramp it up, you owe more and more, okay, pay it off every month. You do this a few times, your credit limit is gonna increase. That is a good component of getting a higher credit score. The higher the limit, the less you have to worry about your utilization ratio, right? If you imagine you have $20,000, $30,000 of credit limit, and then you spend $500, $1,000, it's gonna be, the percentage will be a lot less in that case.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why does that matter? Why does that rate matter?
Utilization ratio, it's just something that's contrived by the credit scoring agencies. They have a black box, and they put all these metrics together, and that is how they come up with a score. So, they don't tell you exactly what it is. So what I'm telling you now is just what people can infer from what they would tell other people, like the companies. They would go, oh yeah, 20% goes to utilization ratio. This is not the correct amount, by the way. Something like that. Enough about credit scores. Let me talk about looking rich or being rich. Looking rich is very costly. If you go to the store, personally I don't even go to the mall these days anymore, because the mall has a lot of goods that are very expensive. Sometimes they might go, oh, you can buy your very expensive sunglasses, your name brand stuff. If you wear these things, then that's kind of like looking rich. You think about what you're doing with these brand items. Are you buying it for yourself, or are you buying it to show to other people, to impress other people? When you keep on accumulating these things, I'm not saying you can't just buy a few name brand things or whatnot, but if you try to bling yourself out and go, hey, look at me, I'm this flashy person, I have wearing brand new stuff all the time, you might be spending a little bit too much for what you earn. People always like to look richer than they are. When you do that, you might be spending a bit more on your credit cards, sort of like beyond your means, and then you might have to pay interest on it. So when I look at this, if you're paying interest on anything, it's kind of like money that is wasted. You're just burning it. Why do you want to do that? You don't, because if every single month you pay $100 of interest, instead of giving it to the banks, you could have just give it to yourself. You just kind of like the horse went too far ahead of yourself for a while. When you buy something, people like to buy brand new, super new stuff. There's massive depreciation, especially when you buy a brand new car. When you buy a lot of these goods, there's a lot of depreciation. Have you ever thought about how whatever stuff that you did buy, how much value is left in it after you're done with it? After like 1 year or 2 years, it basically drops a lot. So if you keep on thinking about buying stuff that retains their value, then you're not losing any money over this. Now, if you're not buying these expensive gadgets to show off, or clothing and stuff, then you can take this money and invest it over the long term, and then instead of draining your money, it'll add to it. How do you be rich instead of looking rich? You can only you only need to use your passive, semi-passive income to live life. Now, what does that mean? Like, if your passive and semi-passive income is a low amount, well, then you're going to live a sort of like a frugal life. But then as you increase this amount, the stuff that you make on the side, then you can sort of increase the amount that you spend, but just make sure that it's less than what you take in, right? So it does not always mean that you're gonna be super frugal. You can just increase your spending as you increase your income. Just not beyond what you make. When I talk about being frugal, sometimes I take it to the extreme on my YouTube channel. People always like to say, why are you being so frugal? Why, you only live once. Why don't you just, spend everything, spend more now, live life now. You only have one life to live. You don't know if you're gonna die the next day or whatnot. So YOLO, spend everything now. You only live once. If you're frugal, you save everything now. But my perspective is you don't do one or the other. When you're frugal, what I consider is you dial everything down, your basic burn rate. You push it as far as you can. You find ways to reduce your recurring expenses, your subscription and stuff, kill all of those. Your normal state of being is at a very low burn rate, if that makes sense. You don't even have to think about it, and you would only spend a very low amount. And then you actually have to make an effort to spend money, okay? Especially with subscription stuff. What's the balance here? My personal balance is that you don't push it all the way, because if you are super duper frugal, you might get a craving, sort of. It's like, oh, why I'm not living life, right? I want to spend a little bit. So you can't push yourself that hard all the time. You got to dial it back a little bit. So if you're saving a lot of money, okay, every single paycheck, let's say you're saving 50%. Maybe you should take a little bit of that and just go, okay, I'm gonna spend this month on indulgences, right? But it's the amount that you save that you take a little bit out of, not from the total paycheck. There's a difference between that, right? You need a certain amount to live on. Let's say it's $1,000, okay? You take home $1,000 in paycheck, and then you spend $500, and then you have $500 that's going into your savings account. You take a little bit of that, do whatever you want with it. I'd say 10%. So as you make more money, you scale that up. So then you're not depriving yourself of everything. You gotta live a little bit. So that it's sort of like, okay, level 10 is you only live once. Level 0 is super frugal. So you dial it back all the way down. That's what I do, and then come back up a few notches. Just to live a little bit. Let me cover a little bit about durable products, because you're going to be buying a lot of things. Yes?
Okay, let's say someone makes like 1.5 a month.
1.5?
1,500.
Uh-huh.
Like, how much would you say they should like spend on like luxury stuff or anything?
Question was, let's say someone that earns $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
How much should they
How much should they like,
spend on luxury items?
Yeah.
So it depends how good you are on your burn rate. Some people might be stuck at spending $1,500, right?
Yeah.
It really depends on your situation. How much is your rent, right? Like, so you got to add all those up. If you're really good about it, you might be able to dial that down, push it down to like you only spend $800 every single month, and then the rest you're saving. So you look at how much that's left over and take a percentage of that, because that scales with if you make more. Does that answer? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let me talk about durable products. I'm super into durable products because essentially when you buy it, the longer that you use it, it kind of makes you money. Sometimes when you buy a shiny gizmo, it kind of goes out of date really quickly. The value of it goes to zero. I had so many gizmos do that way over the years, and at some point I just kind of get frustrated. So the new metric that you can use to get the most bang out of your money is to minimize cost per use. Sometimes when you buy something, you might not be able to tell how much usage you're gonna get out of it. Sometimes you buy some cheap product and it only lasts you for one use. So an example, if you buy some good leather shoes, $150, that sounds very expensive, right? But what if it lasts you 5 years? So that's $30 per year of usage. But if you buy some cheap shoes for $50 because you go, oh, $50, those shoes are a lot less than $150 shoes. But then if they don't last as long, if they only last you 1 year, then you have to pay $50 a year. So if you look at how much that you're using every single use, if you minimize this cost, then the total amount that's coming out of your pocket over the years will be minimized. Oh, here's a plug. I actually made a website called fishscent.com that lists a lot of products on durability. I'm able to do something like that only because I'm not working anymore. So here's a bonus. These are the things that I want to warn you guys on avoiding scams, because these are things I've come across that you kind of want to be aware of to help you avoid the scams. Have you guys heard of cashier scams?
Like credit, like a store card?
No. Cashier scams is sometimes when you go to pay for something at the cashier, they do a sleight of hand type of thing where they confuse you on the transaction. Let's say two people go up and then they want to buy something, and then they collect both of your money, but then only give you change from one person. But there's like a bit of confusion going on. So the basic thing to avoid, in order to avoid those, you look it up, look up what those are actually, and the easiest way to avoid it is one transaction at a time. So if you're buying a ticket, don't group, don't do multiple transactions. Do one transaction at a time. That makes it very, very clear. So if they want to group multiple things, they're like, oh, I'm gonna give you 20, but then give 5. Sorry, I don't have a specific example, but those are something that you will come across. There are going to be a lot of people that are going to prey on you for services, money, or something. So whenever you have a large-ish transaction, I'd say maybe like more than $100 or something, especially when it's in cash. Someone comes up to you, they go, oh, I want to sell you this thing, or I want to, provide you this whatever service, especially on the streets. It's like very iffy. You really, really want to get a second opinion, like someone that's not like right where you are. A lot of times they're not going to like that, right? They're going to be, it's only right now. I'm only giving you this offer right now. They're kind of pressuring you to do it quickly and not ask for a second opinion. So be wary of those type of transactions, especially the cash ones. MLMs, multi-level marketing. I'm not a big fan of those, although some people might be. Those are basically those workshops that they go, hey, earn money from home type of thing. And you attend some workshop, and then they say, oh, you gotta pay a couple $100 to get this package to start selling stuff, and then they say, oh, you can be your own boss because you get these things, whatever product it is. It can be knives. I don't know if you guys have been approached by these things. They like to. You have?
It's like pyramid scams though?
Yeah, it's very similar, although they don't call it pyramid scams. They get really angry if you call it one. To me, these things, they're basically selling, you are basically selling your relationships, okay? When you get these packaged products, when you buy it from them, they make the money, and you cannot return it to them. And you make money by selling the products to people you know. So that's why I say you're selling it to your friends and family, and then you start annoying them. And also, sometimes these schemes, they would pay you a lot more for recruiting other people to get into the scheme. So oftentimes you get a lot more for going into it than selling the product itself. So that kind of incentivizes you to recruit other people. So you might have friends that go that ask you, You know, oh, you know, I got this great business opportunity. You know, you want to come do it. So once you know that they're called MLMs, you know, you can pretty much quickly spot them if you sometimes go to their little seminars. Those are great. I've been to some of them, and they have free food and things. I eat it and then I go. I'm like, yeah, you I'm not gonna buy those things though. Another thing is investment opportunities that seeks you, and not you seeking them. From my experience, good investment opportunities almost always comes when you're looking for them. You're like sorting through a lot of them, and you seek them out. This is not like a rule of thumb or anything, but it's sort of generally true, like more so than not. So whenever someone comes up to me, someone I know, and they go, oh, I got this great opportunity, I got, you know, I have this business that needs your investment. Most likely it's because people, they go, oh yeah, you know, that guy, he has a little bit of money, he can, you know, he can afford to invest. So then they come after you, and then they want you to invest in their thing. But most of the time it's going to be pretty bad on your returns. Sometimes it might be completely, you know, it'll completely go to zero. For example, if you invest in some business, some friend's business, and maybe at the time you haven't done the due diligence, you don't go and look at how much they're earning every single year, right? It's like a new opportunity. They're starting a new thing and they want you to be part of it. That's all I have to say. It's like these things that come to you be a lot more worry than the ones that you seek out without you know, people coming to you. So all these topics that I covered will be, each one has their own video. They're on my YouTube channel. Just go on YouTube, search for whatever topic, and type in BeatTheBush, or you can go to my channel, youtube.com/BeatTheBush. Question and answer. I've listed a whole bunch of the topics I talked about before: being a YouTuber, earning money, savings, cash flow, investing, insurance stuff, getting good credit, etc. Any questions? Yes.
So if you want to start investing in the stock market, do you have to like go through a broker?
Do you have to go through a broker to start investing, was your question. Basically, yes. And a long time ago, you have to pay a trading fee. It used to be like $40, I think, every single trade. You buy one, or even 100, I think. You do one trade and you have to pay that amount, but these days there are free ones. Free ones are called Robinhood, it's free these days, the app, and also I think M1 Finance. These are apps that you can use and they have free trades. Amazing.
Didn't you do a video on a app?
I did review the Robinhood one.
Okay.
Here's a free book.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I encourage you to watch his video. He actually walks you through step by step how to do that. He can't obviously do it right now, his time is limited, but his video is good.
The selling point on that is free trade, so that's it. Any more questions? Yes.
At what age do you think it's the best to get a credit card?
What age?
To start
When? Oh, that's a good one. I think that it really depends on if you are going to get in trouble using a credit card, because when I look at the general population on who would get in trouble, it's most people will get in trouble with spending a credit card, like 80+%. You're gonna get into debt just for using it. It's not what age, but if you are going to not pay the bank for using it. I started using it at 18 when you could start getting a credit card. But the better metric is to look at how good you are at saving. Have you been a good saver always, or are you the type that whenever you get money that you just kind of blow it on stuff and spend it? That is the thing, but you don't really know that if you're gonna get in trouble or not, right? You might be able to tell a little bit. Question? Yeah.
What's your opinion on investing in private companies like a VC?
I have not done so myself, but my opinion is at a private company, you have less information. You have less structure that would allow you to know all the information there is. And at a private company, there might be more chances of error, not error, but like information containment. You know, like you might not get all the information there is as other investors, so you might not have the edge. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I personally don't do that. Yes.
I really got a question about the statement ratio you're talking about. You said if I pay on the statement day,
Yes.
the last day that I'm supposed to pay, then go back to zero.
The question is something about the statement date and the due date. There's a difference between those two, and how you can get a low utilization ratio, right?
Yes,
That one. The statement date, your credit card goes in cycles, right? And once the statement date ends, it's about 30 days for that statement. And any transaction that happens within that time frame is when what you need to pay, right? But you don't have to pay right on the statement date. They need to generate a bill, print out that paper and then send it to you. Oftentimes it's about 25 days after that is the due date. So if you pay everything off right before the statement date, then when they generate that bill, then they're gonna go, oh, you don't owe anything. And when the statement does come to you, it's gonna be close to zero. I recommend $2.01. You have to pay it down to that much, because then that will keep your credit card statement active. When the due date comes, you pay off that. So every month you pay 2 times. That's how you can zero out your utilization ratio. Okay.
You mentioned investing,
Yeah.
and I noticed you had real estate up there.
Yes.
So investing in real estate, I would assume you meant like renting out properties,
Correct.
investment homes, things like that. What would be your position on Prop 10?
I don't know. I'm not too
Prop 10 is
familiar with
rent control.
rent control.
Yeah, how would you feel about that as far as investing?
I don't have much opinion on that. Having rental properties is just not something I'm into. I don't deal with that. Yes.
You have like your student loans are in deferment while you're in school, but they still get interest, obviously. Does that affect your credit if you don't pay even the interest off or anything?
Your student loans has two kinds. Sometimes they pay the interest for you while you're going to school. Some of them, it accrues while you're going to school. As long as you don't have to pay, it's not going to affect your credit score. Of course, your total owed is going to keep on going up. But as long as you're satisfying what they want you to do, which is pay, if they're not requiring you to pay, then it won't affect you negatively.
Oh, sorry, we don't have time for any more questions. Well, Professor Resnick has something to say, then BeatTheBush will maybe stick around for a few more minutes if you have one-on-one questions, but Professor Resnick?
Thank you so much, BeatTheBush.